Hello everybody. This is just a quick little video showing off some stuff I'm working on. This is another AEG prototype. This is based off of the video that I posted recently of the first successful firing test. That is this cam wheel here into a slider crank. And then I've redone the entire everything else about that blaster design. This should be a lot more sturdy, durable, and more reliable. And the trigger should also feel a lot better on this. This is basically a Lynx, but the ram and the plunger pusher catch thing are directly connected with two bars coming out the side. I realized after making this that this is very similar to what Taffy has been doing with the Red Herring, which is a blaster that he's developing. But yeah, this is basically the setup that I have. And then this also lets me use a slab catch, slab plunger rod, slab plunger head. Keeps all of those bits. This is a new ram design that I'm working on to hopefully reduce the flubs and the messy firing characteristics of turnaround blasters like the Lynx, the slab, Red Herring, silly pistol, all that stuff. This should hopefully help out. Just by giving a clearer path for the air to get in behind the dart. So this whole thing up here, these parts here, will move back and forth like this. So it'll prime like that, and then return back like that, and then there will be a trigger linkage of some type to go back here, and then hit the catch, basically just like a slab. This will go back and forth because it will be connected to this stuff. Kind of, something like that, connected like that. And then there will be a grip somewhere in there. And then I can probably put battery storage underneath the barrel. It seems like a good spot for it. And then I'll also have the thumb screws for keeping the barrel in place down here as well, because I don't want to put the barrel collet I normally put on the front of these things. Do I have a barrel collet visible right now? I do not have a barrel collet. One second, let me show you what I'm talking about. This one seems fine. Here we go. This is what I'm talking about with a barrel collet, this thing. I've used this on several of my other designs, but it's basically just it's a printed screw with a printed cap. And then there's an O-ring in between these two parts, which isn't shown. It's one of these O-rings. And then when these two parts are screwed together, it squeezes the O-ring together and pushes the barrel in place and doesn't let it move. Problem with this is that it's a bit longer than I can really do on this design. And I also had this issue with the slab when I was making the slab. The barrel collet requires, like, I don't know, 3 centimeters-ish of space, like 30, like that much. But on a plunger of this volume, this small of a volume, this is only 2.5 inches of prime, you can't really have a barrel that's longer than 10 or 12 inches because it will be over-barreled. There will be too much barrel. And if I have a 10-inch barrel right here and the barrel collet ends right there, it's both stubby and weird looking, but more importantly, you can't really attach a scar there because you only have, like, what is this? Like 12 millimeters of space to attach a scar. That's really not much. And even if I bump this up 2 inches, see, that's enough. But you can only really make use of a 12-inch barrel on this kind of system with a higher power spring. And not all people want that kind of higher power, but they still want the accuracy of a scar. So on this, instead of using the barrel collet on the front, I will have 2 thumb screws on the bottom to keep the barrel in place, and that should work pretty fine. The slab only has one thumb screw, but that length has two thumb screws. Couldn't really fit two on the slab, so I'm using two here. And this is a lot easier to design around because it's not the barrel that's moving. It's just this catch block up here that's moving back and forth. The barrel in this stays put, and the mag wall as well. So it's a lot easier to design around than the slab. I'm thinking about sandwiching this in between some U-channels, or maybe some custom longer bars. Kind of like a Lynx would be the longer bars, and then like a Calvin U would be the U-channels. But yeah, that's a decision I still have to make, depending on cost of U-channels versus cost of bars, if I need a longer than standard bar, or if I can use an already existing U-channel, like one from a Talon Claw U would be probably the correct length. But there's no aluminum bars that are already that length for me to use in this design, so I would have to make a new bar standard and a new cutting jig and a new hole cutting jig and all that stuff. But this is a design I'm working on, and it seems to be going pretty well. If you haven't seen the first successful AEG prototype firing video, I will link that in the description of this video. That AEG is actually, as you can see, I have a bunch of AEG projects here on the side. But that AEG is down here. This one. And hopefully this will load without crashing. Come on. I have a bunch of files open right now. There we go. So this is the prototype that was printed and tested. We didn't test it with the printed gearbox because, number one, I'm not going to be using printed gears in the final design, but also the printed gears didn't really work very well due to print tolerances and all that stuff. But it was just a temporary thing anyway, so we just put like a bolt in this bit and slapped a drill on it, and it fired. It works reasonably well. But this design, while it looks really good, in my opinion, number one, this is super jank. This was just for testing out. But if I open the further version of this layout, which is this, it looks fine, but the trigger mechanism on this isn't very well optimized, because it has this interruption bar with a hole in it right there. So when this slides back, the trigger is blocked from hitting the catch, as you can see there. But it's in the home position, it lines up. But that means if you hold down the trigger when firing, as you would, the trigger kind of bounces back and forth and doesn't really feel good, according to my beta tester, which, I expected, but it was good enough for a prototype. So I'm giving up on this layout for now, which uses a turnaround, which is basically a turnaround, but it doesn't turn it around, it just redirects it down, which lets you have a shorter blaster and a better airflow path than a pusher like a Talon Claw. But instead of doing this, I'm doing a proper turnaround like I did on the slab. But yeah, it's going pretty well. Hoping to have this at least vaguely functional probably within 2022. Because I would have rest of this month plus December. Should probably be possible to have a functional prototype of this by then. But yeah, that's what I'm working on. Yep, I don't know how to end videos. Go look at the other video if you haven't seen it. Link in the description. Alright, bye-bye.